Hi, everybody. Veronica Cole here. I'm so glad that you joined us today for our special interview with Kauss. But before I do that, I want to remind people that today is the last day for sign up into my program. There is a time limit with the videos. So after midnight tonight, the videos will no longer be available. So if you have to watch a training or you want to go over it again, please do so. I've gotten so many wonderful compliments from people and so many views, and I want everybody to experience this because, hey, you know what? We're spiritual beings and I'm expanding, and so are you. So keep that in mind as you're going through your day. If there's anything you want to look at, do so. And remember, you could always personal message me. I will speak to you after we have the interview with Allie, and we'll talk further about certain issues with my program at that point in time. So I want to welcome Allie Kauss, who is a delight, and you're going to love her, and you're going to love her work. And she is a holistic metalsmith. And I am going to give it away to Allie now. And I want to tell people, in this particular software that I'm using, I cannot see your comments until after this is all through. So if there's a particular question that you have or something that you really want to share, please do so in your messenger, because I will get a ding. I can look at it here, and then I will respond to it, or I will ask Allie the question. Okay, here we go. Hi, Allie. Nice to see you.
Hello. Hi, Veronica, and everyone else watching. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's definitely a gift for me to share space with you. So I am a metalsmith. I make jewelry. Some people don't know what a metalsmith means. Essentially, it's the craft of creating in metal. I graduated in 2002 from Arizona State with a degree in metalsmithing with an emphasis in jewelry. So not only do I know how to make jewelry, but part of that metalsmithing program was like raising bowls. If any of you know what that is, so it starts with a sheet, and there's certain tools and techniques that you raise a bowl out of flat metal.
Wow, that's kind of fascinating. Are you talking about a singing bowl, or just bowls in particular?
It could be. I never really thought about it that way. You know, I loved the process of it, but it really hurt my body because it's a whole lot. I mean, there's a nylon. I can do a show and tell later, but I haven't really done the process on a large scale since school, because it was my body was like, this isn't quite for you. But I've done it in the scale of jewelry since then. So I make like little cups. So if you were to, start with this, could create like a little tiny cup. That way I've done that. So I graduated in 2002, and I've been a working artist from that point. Although I had two beautiful children soon after I graduated, and although I continued to make jewelry, my focus was really on growing them in that stage of their life. And so I've really focused in the last 5 or 6 years on my career. And through my evolution as an individual, I've always been really interested in psychology. Along the way, my artist statements always ended up sounding a lot like self-help articles. And I was even called out on that. And it was like just my natural way of looking at life. The art world is definitely my background, but it has a very rigid feel to it. It kind of has a real elite feel to it, which is where I would bump up against that with my natural tendencies towards psychology and looking at bigger picture things, which is really what art is as well. But in an academic sense, it's a little different. So, I worked to fit into that box while still growing myself on a psychological level, doing a lot of inner work. And when I came to art school, I had quite a bumpy path that led me to finding art. I did not grow up knowing that I wanted to make jewelry. There were hints of it, but I did not. The way I look at the beginning of my life has been the process of elimination. That's kind of how I figured out where I meant to be. And I see myself, I have shifted perspective on that, but I had kind of dabbled in, my mom was creative, so it was definitely in my wheelhouse, but it was not nurtured. So when I went to college, I was in a low spot, and I first went into language arts with I think I had a minor in French, something like that. And I made my way to undecided and then studio art and sculpture, where I landed and loved it, but it was so big. And the scale that I wanted to create in was really big, which is kind of ironic now that I make such tiny things in contrast to the sculpture I was making. And I didn't like needing help to move things. It was really like, for me, this expression is about the autonomy that I can be in my studio on my own, creating pieces. For others, there's a connection there. But the scale I was creating was so big, I had to ask for help, and that it was just a sign that it wasn't right. So I walked down to the next studio over was jewelry, and I had done an internship prior. I mean, it's kind of a crazy web that when I look at all of the dots along my timeline, there was definitely a foreshadowing to this, but I wasn't aware at the time. But jewelry I fell in love with. I feel really connected to the power of adornment. I feel really powerfully connected to adornment as a verb. I see the magic in adornment. I love the concepts of ethnic jewelry, like talismans and amulets, where they're decorative, they're beautiful, and they're protecting us. They're communicating something. They are communicating to us. They're communicating to the people who see the pieces. And my process of creating back then, and even now it's evolved, but back then it was really how I was communicating to myself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I really healed from the inside out, because I was seeing what I was making, and then I was interpreting what I was making, and it was helping me connect to myself.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well. Yeah, and as well as that, that dialogue of having a piece and then having someone else's input, whether that be positive or negative, it was a connection to kind of like pull me out of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been my path with jewelry, has really been about me connecting to my spiritual connection, to my authentic self. And then more recently, I have realized that I've been doing this all along, but that's what I'm creating for other people now too. I'm just stepping into the idea of being a holistic metalsmith. And I'll tell you, that title came to me last week, and it's really about connecting art and spirituality and this metaphysical, psychological, like all of these facets are coming together in making jewelry, and really wanting to make jewelry for individuals who are on a similar path, or at least wanting to have jewelry that reminds them of how amazing they are. I mean, that is really my goal with my business, is to serve as a reminder of how amazing we are. And I don't think we celebrate that enough. And especially, I don't think we celebrate the internal work that we do, because it's a lot, as you know, like this transformation, the personal growth and transformation,
Mhm.
it's not for the weak, right? Like it's definitely, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
But I feel like we don't really take the time to celebrate our spots along that path. You know, we can impulse buy something, or but it might be feeding or filling a different gap. Like I see what I do as accentuating and celebrating, not filling a void, if that makes sense.
Well, I know that when I first heard about your work, I was very fascinated by the idea of transformational adornment, because I knew that it was bigger than just, oh, come and see my jewelry, you know, come and look at it. You know, I knew that there was a stronger spiritual element. And as we talked and as we got deeper into what you do, I realized that what you're doing is you're helping an individual to bring out the best pieces of them into a concrete form, and
Mhm.
to express that, whether it be in terms of protection, because you have tremendous knowledge about crystals, about gemstones, and you utilize that knowledge depending on what a person wants. So I found that completely fascinating. And as you know, because I found it so fascinating, I ordered, you know, and everything is special order with you. So I ordered this incredible topaz ring, which to me is a power piece. And I wanted it to be a significant size, because when I wear rings, I really, it's generally, I don't wear rings that are really tiny or small. I like a big piece because it feels like it anchors me. And that's what I feel that, a lot of your process is too. It's anchoring people, and you have to have a conversation, or at least you have to have something where you can discover what that person is really looking for and what they're all about, so that you can also communicate with them what you're thinking. And because your intuitiveness comes into play, I know that. And because with me, I told you the colors that I liked. I told you what was important to me, and I wanted it to be a power piece. And some of the things that you and I discussed helped me to further refine what it is that I really wanted, because I had this vague idea, but it's also not something that I was familiar with doing, having somebody create this piece for me in the way that I wanted it to, that had a spiritual element to it. So I want to show people this piece, and then I hope that we can see some other things that you've done too, and we can continue to talk. But
Sure.
do you, maybe I should show them now. Is that a good time?
Sure. And I, as you're showing it, I know that through the process of us talking, and we talk via messenger,
Right.
texting and phone calls. So this all can really be done. You know, I have a studio retail space where I'm at in Wisconsin, but this can all be done through the technology that we
Right.
have access to. And I feel like when you first messaged me, you had said blue topaz, and you had also identified some other stones that you're attracted to. And what I find is that I'm holding space for people. Most of the time, I feel like the individual at somewhere knows what they're looking for. Maybe not the stone if you don't have a background, but it's I feel like I hold space for people to filter out what it is they want the piece to be about. And I think for me, just to be on the other end, the receiving end for you, you knew blue topaz was the stone, but we had to go through the research of the other stones to get to that point, right?
Right. Right. And we did, and we got to that point, and you just made a suggestion, and I told you that I wanted a bigger stone. This stone is so beautiful. This ring is so beautiful, because you also created the setting,
Yeah.
and that too is like another process. But I'm hoping I can. And also, let me see now. How am I going to get this
No,
on?
you have to find them. the lens.
What the heck? I've got to find out. Oh,
Oh, you almost had it.
yeah, I almost, come on
Go
now.
the opposite direction of where you think it should be.
Of where, okay, there we go. I think I'm kind of,
Oh, there it is.
oh, wait. I don't know why I'm finding this so difficult.
It's the opposite of.
It's the opposite.
Go the opposite way of where you think you should be going.
Okay, so
There you go. You're
there
getting
we
close.
go. There we go. And I'm showing this to you like this because I can get it on my finger. And this was my issue, but I'm going to have Allie just make it a tad bit bigger for me. So I'm going to send it back to her. And whoa, okay, there we go. There we go. If you can see how beautiful that is, and there's the vortex, right, Allie, that's in it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The design of that is, so it's been carved in a really different, unique way. I did not do the carving. Oh, there you go. You can really start to see it. But it's called the vortex design, which immediately when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. You know, this is it for Veronica. The size at first I was a little nervous about, but Veronica, you loved the size, which I loved because I gravitate towards bigger pieces. And the interesting thing with that stone too is that, you know, I've had some major shifts in my life, and I definitely can be prone to feeling anxious. And before I work on a piece, I really try and ground myself and connect energetically to the person that I'm making it to or making it for. And I went back just to look up all the different qualities of blue topaz, and calm and energizing and peaceful were some of the 3 bullet points. And it was like I immediately felt that. And I there is an element of that happens too in creating a piece, is that, there you go. It definitely is a connection for everyone involved.
Yes. And it's just gorgeous. The color and the sparkle in it, the way it catches the light, it's just beautiful. So this is what you do. And I saw a bracelet that you made the other day, and that was phenomenal because you actually took the is it an acetylene torch that you use? I'm not sure. Okay.
It's acetylene. Yep. It's a jewelry torch, but it's acetylene gas.
And you create, you do the bending of the metal and everything. Do you have pieces that you want to share with us or show us your studio and how you create?
Yeah, I can flip around. So I'm going to try. Actually, if I can flip the camera, which I need to look and see. Oops. I'm not sure I know how to do that on StreamYard, but I'll figure out a way. So I'm going to so I can talk a little bit about the bracelet that I most recently made. I preface it by saying I don't normally make things for myself, but it was kind of a rites of passage. I really was working through my visibility blocks, and I wanted to honor and celebrate where I am and the work that I've been putting into releasing a conditioned self, you know, really getting to the next layer, you know, really peeling back the layer, the onion, the layers of the onion. So I'm in my studio retail space right now. So I'll kind of just try to get out of the way.
We can see it.
And in my retail space, I also have my studio space. So I like to say I'm working while I'm working.
Okay.
So this is my bench. And then I write all of the work that I have on that board. So I laugh because as a jewelry artist, we can work out of a closet. Our studios don't have to be that big.
Right.
So I'm going to try and hold this bracelet up and get in the right light.
Oh, I love this. This is so beautiful.
Get out of light. There we go.
Oh my
So
God.
this is the piece I created most recently, and it is about, so the blue sapphire is about me. That is my birthstone, and it's about me connecting further to my authentic self. And I don't sketch usually for custom pieces, transformational adornments. I do. That's part of the process. But when I'm making something like this, or I do put things out. I do have originals that I put out that I'll make that are, that come through me, but I don't necessarily know who they are for yet.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really hard, isn't it?
Yeah. But you're doing it. You know what you could do is you could turn the camera around and just put it right on the piece.
Yeah, tell me if you can see it, because you'll have to tell me when you can see it.
Okay. Okay. Not yet. Nope.
There's my hand. There
Okay.
we go.
Okay, there. Yeah. Okay. If you could bring it a little bit closer, you're gonna have to go right there, right there. Oh, right there.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I used all of the stones. What I did for this piece is I went into my box of, my toolbox, so to speak, and I sort of picked out, I definitely ordered the blue sapphire. I knew that was the beginning of the piece. And then I went into my box of stones. I'm getting distracted because I can put a picture of this too on your page. I think if I could upload a picture, it might be easier too for everyone to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I went into my toolbox and my gemstone box and found the stones that were of the right size, and knew that they would be part of it. I didn't know how exactly, again, but as I was working, I'm gonna just go back if you don't mind. So they were all all stones have an energetic vibration. They all have metaphysical properties. They all have healing properties. And the ones that I felt like I had just through serendipity, I knew that those were just meant to be in this bracelet. And each spot where they connect is kind of like branches. But to me, it was about that I am creating new neural pathways.
Mm-hmm.
And so at each spot where they connect, coming from me at the center would be a different stone. So there's garnet, there's amethyst.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a pearl, there's black onyx. And then on the other side, there's citrine and smoky quartz, rose quartz, and tanzanite.
So did you specifically pick these out because of their properties, or because of their color or combination, or because you were looking for a certain energy for this for you?
So part of what I do is listening to materials. So for a transformational adornment or a custom piece, it's obviously it's much more specific. Someone is telling me what stone they want. My work that is either for me, which I don't do that often, or for the unknown person, my collections that I create, They come about a little different. I really tend to look around my space, and part of this was using what I had. I specifically ordered the blue sapphire because that was the beginning of this piece, because it represented me. But the stones that ended up being used were part of what I already had. So it was symbolic of what I have already inside of me. I just had to own it in a way. I just had to see it, if that makes sense. So that was how these, and I have other stones of different size, but they wouldn't work in the scale of what I wanted to create. So when I'm making something that's for a collection or an original, which is, the transformational adornments, and then I really only make one of a kind pieces, that's kind of how they come around. I'll either specifically order something, or I'll look and see what I have. But this piece was about using what I had, because the point of it is that I have a lot. Like I have these gifts that part of my visibility, part of my next phase in life is really about this transformational adornment being a symbol of all of those innate gifts that I have access to, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, and I mean, there are stones that I was already attracted to the color. So, and all stones, like, as I'm constantly learning, they're just all so amazing. I think we could benefit from each and every one. So it's kind of, you can't lose when looking at the properties of stones.
When people are, let's say, for instance, somebody wants to get some personal adornment from you, transformational adornment, and what would you be asking, or what would you be doing in a typical situation with them? Would you be formulating something that you're picking up energetically, or would you just be looking at what the person wants? Or how do you combine that? How do you combine the spiritual element? I think is what I'm trying to ask you, because the spiritual element is part of the protection, it's part of the love, and it's really everything. And I think that crystals have consciousness, they have something, and so all of these are sort of energetic beings in this universe. So I'm just curious as to like how you would help somebody determine that.
Okay, so even if they don't know it, I'm still spiritually adding to any of the pieces, because that's who I am. I always, it's nothing, I'm not trying to force anything on anybody, but it's already an integral part of what I create. If someone's reaching out to me about a transformational adornment, they know that there's this level of spirituality involved, because either I've told them, or they go to my website and they read what it's all about there. So I guess I'm kind of guessing that if someone's reaching out to me for a transformational adornment, or I say it in person, if someone comes into retail, but it comes with a questionnaire. So that's how we get down to the nitty gritty of what the piece is about. So you are interested in a transformational adornment, I pass on this questionnaire. I encourage you to, sit down, ground yourself, really sink into what you want this piece to be about. And then I go through, what are you attracted to stone-wise? What are you not attracted? And I should say it doesn't have to have stones or crystals in it. I ask about symbols that are powerful to you. We go a little bit into astrology, and sometimes people don't care about the astrology. Does it kind of help me a little bit if I know what your sign is? Yeah, it definitely does. It helps for me to be open to that energetic channel. And if we're talking about energetics, there's a lot that I can pick up on, especially when we talk on the phone or in person. Just listening to someone is where I bring that spirituality in. And it's different with every person. You know, it's different because everyone's receptivity is different.
Right. Okay. So let's say that I wanted to have a healing piece and I wanted it to be in, well, I wanted it to be in a bracelet, but I want something that, because I know you do necklaces, earrings, everything, right?
Yep.
So let's say that I wanted something for healing, that I was going through a healing process, which I am, and I wanted something to support that. Is there something that you would recommend, or is there a particular stone or stones that are really utilized for that purpose?
For healing in what specific way? I think I missed that. Did you say healing in a general sense?
Uh, well, physical healing, but I think that all healing, even if we're
Right.
dealing with a physical issue, it's it it's everything. So
Yeah.
it's the complete being. But
Right. So I would have 1001 suggestions until what are your colors? What are your power colors? That's really important, because if you're going to be wearing it and you have an adverse reaction to mustard yellow, we're not going to go down that road. If
right.
you're really drawn to, a bright green, and you're talking about, I'll give an example. So I did some transformational adornment. They weren't wedding rings, but they were celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary. So they both had, it was really interesting. They both filled out the questionnaire, and they both had very similar desires for what this piece would represent for them and what they wanted it to encourage them to do. And they needed help reconnecting, and that's what they both were looking for. They were looking for this clarity. And he had mentioned emerald in his, and as soon as I read that emerald, I knew that emerald was the stone for them. But she didn't write emerald down. So I'm not pushy. I really, there have been times when I'll say, I think you need this stone. But I really want it to be a process that evolves from the individual as well, rather than me telling anybody what they need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more like a guide. So emerald ended up being the stone for them, and it was really about love, partnership love. Emerald has a lot to do with that. So I guess to go back to your question more specifically, so you have, and what specifically are you healing? Like, are you healing a physical ailment, an emotional ailment?
So let's say that it's a physical ailment.
Just offhand, what comes to me is jasper, because jasper is the great nurturer. So that would be, there are so many gorgeous types of jasper, and just for an umbrella of healing physically, because of what it's known for, the great nurturer, that just makes me feel like, it's going to wrap you up in this really beautiful hold of space for you to heal. So that's my instinct to respond to that question. But really, it would be, I would have more questions for the individual, and it would be something simple, like starting with, what are your power colors? Because most people, they may not call them power colors, but most everybody has a color they feel real strong about.
Right. So I love this whole idea of creating from somebody's center, because that's what you're doing. You're creating from their center, you're bringing it out. And, this is like a strange question, but I'm wondering if, since let's say you were utilizing crystals, for instance, you could, I'm just wondering, because there is some spiritual element to the crystal itself. And, I had worked with crystals years ago, and I found them to be amazing in terms of being able to guide me and to heal certain things in other people I was working with them. And I'm wondering if there is a strong connection that a person could, identify with that particular crystal and if it could bond with it. I mean, I guess that's my question is there such a thing as being able to take this piece and look at it as a metaphysical power piece, but at the same time that it's spiritually entering you somehow, it's doing something for you?
Yes. I mean, I think you just summed up what transformational adornments are all about. You know, this is about you connecting internally to yourself as a powerful individual on this planet, you know, a spiritual being having a human experience. And it's also about it being a sacred object for you to utilize in your life. I mean, even setting, I mean, I consider what I do wearable art. So the object itself operates when it's not being worn as well, but you are connecting. Like even the stones that I'm using on my bench, oftentimes I'll have things scattered around and I know that they're talking to me. I am interacting with them and they are helping me heal even in my periphery, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to do that, but when you have something made for you, specifically for something that you have articulated to someone else, you know, through the process that we go through. So you've really, you know, taken the time to ponder what you want in this piece made for you and then articulate it to me. That's powerful right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then for that energy to be, you know, transmuted and transformed into a physical object that then you have on your body. And because it's so close to your body, they're not necessarily touching your body depending on the setting, but they're intimate. You're wearing something is extremely intimate. So yes, like, you know, when I made this piece, I really saw, I don't wear a ton of colors, but there's a ton of color in this bracelet. The lighting is not great, but there's red, purple, there's blue, there's yellow. It's definitely not part of my normal wardrobe to wear colors. But as I was making it, and this was not intentional, I realized that these were my chakras. You know, these were my chakras lighting up from the inside out. And this was a physical representation of that. For me to go through the process of making this was activating. And I think, you know, this was for myself, but that is a process that I believe I have the ability to do for someone else. Because that's the intention that I'm setting that intention as we go through this process together.
So there's an alchemical process to all this then, you know. Yeah. It's like, you know, you're bringing something to life here and you're creating something, you know, from these beautiful pieces that you're determining with the help of somebody else what they need to be.
Yeah.
What about like something that is there a difference if somebody gets a piece and wears it on their finger as a ring or a bracelet or earrings, or is there like a better place for somebody to wear this transformational adornment?
Yes and no. I mean, there are, you know, if you're working on your throat chakra, you know, perhaps having a tighter neck piece or even a pair of earrings, but you have to be comfortable wearing the piece too. So I think there's some wiggle room in that, because if you were working on your throat chakra, but really felt constricted if you had something tight, or say you don't have your ears pierced, or like there has to be some room to go around that, because this is something specifically made for you. So yes, there are benefits to wearing something in a certain location, but this really has to be about you're wearing it, you know, like you're not going to wear a piece of clothing that's scratchy, even if it's supposed to activate your heart chakra. You know, you're going to be irritated. This isn't meant to irritate you. It's supposed to inspire you, you know?
Right. So what if a person was, wanted you to make a special piece for for somebody else, and let's say it's supposed to be a
Mhm.
surprise, it's going to be a birthday gift, an anniversary gift, whatever.
Mhm.
How does that work? Because the individual really isn't going to be involved per se, but
Mhm.
someone is conveying to you, for instance, that they want to have, a special piece for their birthday. What would you recommend that somebody could do then?
Okay, so there's different approaches to that. If someone is intimate enough with this other person, they are going to know, what's going on in their personal life with their internal dialogue for the most part. They're going to know, they're intimate. So they're going to know that private part of them, so they can, most likely identify what they would need the most, or at least know what colors they like to wear, or if they loved certain stones, if someone loved sapphires or someone loved topaz, I think if you're in an intimate setting, like I'm thinking of a marriage or partnership,
Mm-hmm.
but I did have a transformational adornment that was created for a friend, and friends collected for her to make a family necklace. And so how I went about that was, she was about to have her second baby, and they really wanted to give her something at the mama blessing that was about this baby. And I came up with the idea that we would include 4 stones that represented each person of the family. So I just needed to know what month they were born in to pick out the stones. So that's a way to go about it. If it's someone like a friend, that's a very natural piece to make for someone. Or if it was about love, like an engagement ring. I have worked with diamonds. I'm not especially drawn to diamonds, but I will work with them. Um, Tell me about your relationship. Tell me about what you connect with, how you connect. Tell me about, what you're comfortable with telling me. And usually when people are prompted that way, they open up. And I do feel like I have that energy for people. I do find it's pretty easy for
Right.
individuals to open up to me in that way, because that's just who I am. I lay it out on the tables.
Right. Well, I think that I know from my personal experience that working with you was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and it was very enlightening, and I just appreciated everything you did. And then, of course, the final product, I'm just trying to think, it didn't really take you that long to create that ring either. I mean, you were done within, I think it was, and you were going through a process yourself of rearranging certain things in your life. So you were incorporating all of it, including me. And I think that you probably could have done that easily within a week. And I think you did. And then you sent it out to me, because this was done by the mail. And when I opened it, it was like Christmas. It was wonderful. So I want to thank you for that. It was really wonderful.
You are
Really.
welcome, and thank you for asking me. I get really excited. This is definitely my soul path. I feel very aligned doing this kind of work. I definitely felt aligned doing jewelry, but jewelry under the guise of art jewelry or the umbrella. But there always felt like there was just more that I wasn't articulating, and it wasn't connected within me yet. And so now, as this is all coming together, I just get so excited to help people. I really feel like that's my service to provide. I want it to feel like Christmas. And this is about you. This is about
Right.
you honoring your personal power and taking the moment to invest in yourself,
Mhm.
and you get to wear it.
Well, that's your gift. So it's a unique process that you go through and that you offer people. And the fact that the whole person, the whole alley is incorporated into this, including your spiritual being, is
Yeah.
an added plus, because you're not just dealing with the external, you're dealing with the internal as well. And, I mean, I just feel like whenever I order a piece of jewelry, I just need to call you now. For anybody. I'm thinking about another one for somebody, you know, for my daughter. And, you know, I just know that you're the right person to go to. So I really appreciate the work that you do. And I appreciate when people utilize spirit in this way, because, you know, really artwork, I know that there is a lot of rigidity in art, but there's also a lot of expansion and room to flow in art. And my daughter happens to be an artist, so she's gonna love when she hears this interview, really.
Nice.
And I just can't say enough good things about what you do. And I really want to see, you know, more success coming your way. I just want to see you continuing to blossom. And I know these branches are branching out into all kinds of areas, and I just really want to see that happening. You know, it's just been so wonderful speaking with you. Do you have anything that you want to close with, or that you'd like to add to this, Allie?
I think I just want to make sure that I answered the question about the questionnaire. So that's where we start. You know, if you're interested in something, the questionnaire is our starting point, and that kind of just gets the ball rolling. So you don't necessarily have to come up with it on your own.
Right.
I'm there in the beginning to kind of give you some prompts.
Okay.
Yeah, just thank you for allowing me to share my story with you on this platform. It's really, it's a mirror for what's happening internally for me to share with you, Veronica. And yeah, thank you.
Well,
Just
you know,
so full of gratitude.
I'm all about developing consciousness, and that's part of what you're doing too.
Yeah.
So you're bringing what's inside out and developing it in that way. And I love that. I love that it could be a concrete object that is so significant for people. So thank you so much, Allie. If they wanted to contact you, we're going to have to make sure that we put that somewhere in a post. But
Okay.
do you want to tell people right now how they could contact you?
Sure. So the easiest way would be to go to my website, which is alikauss.adornment.com. So it's ALIKAUSS.com. And that would be a great way for you to see other examples of my work and, you know, read a little bit more about the transformational adornments and read a little bit more about me. And I would love to hear from anyone who might be interested in pursuing a transformational adornment. It, you know, just to reiterate, it really is about your personal power. And that's really, really what I want to honor for each and every one of you, because I just don't know that that's done enough. And like Veronica was saying, we're talking about raising consciousness to create beautiful change on this planet. And the more we are developing our consciousness, the more beautiful the planet will be. And I really do believe we ripple effect out. So if we are healing and honoring ourselves, we're going to ripple effect that out to everyone else.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Allie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I'm going to talk to my group for a few more minutes. So if you can all stay on, and we'll say goodbye to Allie. And I'm going to post her website on the Sacred Alchemy After Loss so that you can all have it. And thank you so much, Allie.
Hi. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. So I'm just realizing that it's getting very dark out here, and I don't have the light on. I have to turn this light on over here all the way up. Yes. Okay. Now we're cooking with gas, as they say. So that was wonderful. You know, she's a treasure. I just feel so blessed that I've had these wonderful people to interview, and you know, it just couldn't have been any better for me anyway. I really appreciated Christopher Blackthorne, and the work that he does, with Reiki as a Reiki master. Kauss, that we just interviewed, and she's fantastic as a holistic metalsmith. And then Yogi Gopal that we had yesterday, and some of his thoughts about some very specific questions that we had about that. And then also about his beliefs and the studies that he's had throughout his life. And then Chelsea Hansen with her book, The Survival Guide, Sudden Loss Survival Guide. So all of these people are very interested, and they're actually they're creating consciousness with their work. And I want all of you to be able to feel that this is what you can do in your life too. Today is the last day we had the 5 days of the free workshop, and then I offered 4 bonus sessions with the interviews. And today is the last day. So I'm hoping that people were able to go and see all of the trainings. I've had so many views and so many people connecting with me about this and really enjoying what they've been learning and wanting to take it further. This particular program that I'm offering, the bonus section is, if you pay by tonight, midnight, you will also receive a book bundle, books of your choosing that we're going to go over if you decide to do this. And there's also a payment plan if you need to, or if you want to do it this way. But the important thing is just to do it. I really want people to experience more joy, more prosperity in terms of abundance in all areas of their life, more relaxation, and to have a greater sense of freedom. Because, once you free up a lot of these issues that we have talked about, the conditioned self and the needy parent, and some of the ways that they can be very crafty in stopping you or preventing you or having you second guess yourself. How many times have you second guessed yourself about moving forward with something or not doing something? And in the long run, that it would have benefited you, or it could have benefited you, but you didn't even start it. So I want to help people to get started on what their really deep-seated desires might be. And you might not even know what your desires are exactly yet. And that's okay, because that's what this part of being in this program helps people do, is to determine what it is that may be underneath all of the veils. And once those veils are lifted, there is tremendous freedom and expansion in your life, because you have a perceptual change. A perceptual change occurs through events that bring all of this stuff to light. And it's usually a process that goes on. You can't have a perceptual change from something that occurs in the now. But generally speaking, the process really takes a little bit of time. And this is a 3-month program, which in the scheme of things in one's life, 3 months will go by very quickly. But I want to tell you that what I would offer you is having one-on-one sessions with me alone. This is all done virtually, so it's all done on Zoom. And that would be every other week. Then every week, we would be having a weekly group session, and you would be sharing what you are comfortable with sharing. So nobody is forced to share anything. It is something that you have to grow into. You have to become familiar with people. You have to want to be able to be in a group of people that you could feel that you're close to, that you could trust, and that you want to have a degree of intimacy so that you can share some of who you are with another individual. Because somebody might say something that would trigger something in you that would make you think, oh my gosh, that has happened to me. So there's a great sense of identification, or somebody may be in a place where you could offer something that could be a healing process, because the group process is all about healing. It's all about revealing, and it's all about healing. And I hope people can understand that. And when you think about going through a process where this is happening, what do you think could happen to your life? What do you think could happen to some of the things that you've been wanting to do, or some of the ways that you think that you want to expand, but you just don't know how? This is part of that process. This is part of that answer. And the people that are in this group, you are all empaths. I know that. And empathic, sensitive human beings deserve an investment in themselves. They deserve to have the kind of situation where people get you and you want to be understood, you want to be loved, and certainly you want to have acceptance. And this is part of the process that happens in this group dynamic. So when you would work with me individually, one-on-one, we would go over individual areas of your life, because each time we would meet individually, we would work over that. And there would be something that we could excavate from there. We would bring it to light, and I would guide you in that process. And then we go into the group, and your awareness becomes enhanced because you're in this group dynamic with other individuals who are working on themselves. May not be in the same way as you, but they are working on themselves. And wherever there is consciousness being, presented to you, that you're opening up the awareness, that's where you're going to see expansion. That's where you're going to experience deep love and appreciation. And that's what's healing. So I want to continue this on, and I want people to experience it. You could direct message me, and if you want to set up a discovery call, we could certainly go through anything that you would like. I could go through this process a little bit more in depth with you about what you would be experiencing from being in the program, and any other questions that you might have that would help you to make the decision to invest in you. So I want to thank you for sharing with me these past 9 days. I mean, if you can believe that it's been 9 days, I mean, I can't. We went through the 5 days. We went through different pieces of looking at energy and how that works and how it works in our lives, opening up consciousness and how that can change your life, and the conditioned self as opposed to the authentic self, and how it can be very crafty and tricky, and how you can recognize it and what you can do to actually see what this is when this is happening, and how you can prevent certain things from occurring because of this conditioned message. Okay. So our inner child we worked on, and we talked about ways of bringing out the inner child and giving him or her tremendous love and acceptance. So we did so many things, and recognizing how nature is who we are. Nature mirrors us, or we mirror nature. But the earth is a living being. The earth has a heartbeat, and NASA determined that. So it is researched, it is evidence-based, and there is a heartbeat deep in the center of the earth, and they call that the Schumann resonance. You could look that up. So there is a constant recycling in nature, just like there are in human beings. There is a death or a dormancy, and then there is a rebirth. And we also, energetic beings that we are, we also experience the same thing. So we can shed some of that old, outdated thinking that has not served us, and we can move on to expanding our lives, because we're here until we're not, right? So why not make the best of it? Why not give yourself the gift of awareness, developing awareness, more love, more satisfaction, more of what would make your life richer, you and your family? Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. And it's been good. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed this whole process, and I hope to see some of you. Okay. Thank you so much. Remember, the trainings are only up until midnight tonight. So if you have to see them or you want to watch them again, that would be terrific. Okay. Bye-bye.